for all women and girls, rights, equality, and empowerment. International Women's Day 2025. She saw a need in a time of uncertainty and decided to do something about it. How did you get involved in youth advocacy?
My journey in advocacy would have started in secondary school. I attended Bishop Anstey High School East, BAHSE, where our motto is selflessly serving our community. So from as early as Form 1, they told us the importance of community service and giving back to the less fortunate. And so in Form 1, I joined a program called the RBC Young Leaders Program, and it was basically designed to encourage young people to implement and create social and environmental projects. And from that, BAHSE also has something called a Scope Hours program. So it stands for School-Based Community Outreach Program for Enrichment, And it basically mandated that we complete a minimum of 50 hours community service in order to graduate secondary school. And so at first I was doing it because I was mandated to do it, I had to do it. But the more that I got into it, the more I loved the process, I loved giving back and the satisfaction that it gave me. So I volunteered first at the my local Nallis library, where I would have helped create programs for children. And then I would have went on to St. Mary's Children's Home in Tagarigua, where I would have assisted in tutoring. And then I became the Disaster Preparedness Officer and the Public Relations Officer of the Rotaract Club of Piaco. And so after graduating secondary school, I went on to sixth form, and graduating sixth form, I wanted to create a more tangible platform for change. And so that's why I decided to create my non-governmental organization, the Youth Humanitarian Foundation. And things just started going on from there.
What were some of the challenges you faced in this space?
I have encountered two major challenges so far. The first one is balancing school and work and volunteerism, especially because I'm a third year, final year law student at the University of the West Indies, St. Augustine campus, going on to Hewarding Law School. And so balancing such a demanding discipline with volunteering and organizing meetings, meeting with sponsors, stakeholders, engaging in protests and demonstrations, all of that took up a lot of my time. And so finding that right balance to make sure I got what I needed to do done for school, but also what is fulfilling to me in the volunteer world was quite a challenge. But I think that me pursuing a career in law is integral to me being a youth advocate, and that me wanting to be a lawyer is a part of me having this opportunity for tangible change, and that now I can not only make vocal change, but I can now make tangible change, legislative change in the future as well. And so I have that opportunity for my voice to have a different kind of power, I would say. And then another challenge that I've encountered is definitely how demotivating the social climate could be. Working in this arena and encountering persons who are impacted by poverty, gender-based violence, these hard topics, it could be very demotivating because you're thinking, okay, well, the social climate isn't changing, nothing is changing, and nothing that I'm doing is ever going to fully eradicate the problem. And so I've battled with that a lot mentally because it's very mentally demanding work. But there's a quote by Vincent van Gogh that I really love, and he said that a great thing is created by a series of smaller things coming together. And so I might not think that what I'm doing is impactful or significant, but the people who I'm impacting are definitely feeling the effects of what I'm doing, and that keeps me going.
Tell us about some of your successes that stand out to you.
Creating the Youth Humanitarian Foundation is definitely one of my major successes. So we started in 2020, this was during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was because I recognized two things. The first thing is that there was a heightened number of women being murdered in Trinidad and Tobago, and that given the isolation that the pandemic put us in, women especially and other vulnerable groups were especially susceptible to prolonged periods of violence in society. And so I recognized that, there was a sense of unrest in society at that time. There was legislation being called into question, like the Bail Act, and so there needed to be change, and there needed to be a platform to provide this change, and that's why I created YHF. The second reason I created YHF is because I realized that there were a lack of groups that were created for youth by youth. And so a lot of the times I was volunteering with these groups and they were run by full adults, right? But there were none that were run by young people. And I mean, it's a lot that goes into the operation of these organizations, so I understand. But there was nobody talking about the issues I wanted to talk about and doing things how I wanted to do them, basically, how I think they should be done. And I believe that I am part of the future generation, and so my voice deserves to be heard, and that's why I would have created YHF. Now, in speaking to some of our projects, we've worked with a plethora of organizations. I've worked with the likes of the University of the West Indies Institute of Gender and Development Studies, Catcalls of UE as well, Feminine TT. I've worked with the Rape Crisis Society, the United Nations Development Program. I've worked with Silver Linings Foundation as well, the U Sisters Society, and we've come together along with different smaller organizations like soup kitchens and homes to basically provide hygiene hampers, food hampers. We also did a few period poverty drives as well. We would have organized demonstrations and marches in the past, especially for also International Women's Day. And so those would be some of my successes through the NGO. And then I also got the opportunity out of the NGO to represent it as a part of the ARIMA Volunteers Network. So I'm a part of that, and we work with the mayor of ARIMA as well as councillors and other non-profit organizations in the community, and we give back to those who are in need in ARIMA. Right, so that's how I represent my community as well. And then more recently, another one of my successes is being selected as one of the first cohort of the Women Parliamentarians of Trinidad and Tobago Yes Leadership Program, which culminated in a parliamentary debate last year right here. And it was definitely a very enriching experience. I got to meet with so many other young trailblazers in Trinidad and Tobago, especially women, and it was definitely very life-changing for me. And I think one thing I can mention is that I not only do a lot of grassroots level physical work, but I'm currently pursuing an internship with the Incarceration Nations Network. And so they have collaborated with the University of the West Indies, and I'm on their youth justice team. And we basically provide a lot of research and writing and assist attorneys at law who are representing at-risk youth who are incarcerated at the Youth Training and Rehabilitation Center right now.
How do you think we can achieve equality and empowerment and ensure rights for all women and girls?
I think we need to focus on key areas. We need to focus on education, economic opportunities, legal protection. We need to work towards the eradication of gender-based violence and providing protective and preventative measures for women and girls. We also need to provide more opportunities for women in the workplaces and whatever spheres of life and continue to support them in those areas. And I think most importantly, we need to continue supporting men and ensuring that they become allies in this movement. And I think that is very integral to us having a more inclusive and equitable society.
Why is it important to celebrate International Women's Day annually?
Celebrating International Women's Day annually is definitely important because it's not only a reminder of the things that women have been through in the past, the turmoil that women have been through as well, but it's also a call to action. It's a recognition that there's so much that was done, so much progress made, but there's so much that needs to be continued, and we need to continue working on that. And it's also a sort of motivator for women, I would say, right? It's to tell them, okay, we're here pushing you on, we're here, we see what you're doing, and we want you to continue your excellence. It's also an opportunity to recognize women who are in diverse fields that are often overlooked, and that's super important for us to continue as a world in essentially what is arguably still considered a man's world, and working towards an equitable society, I would say. So that's definitely why it's important.
For all women and girls, rights, equality, and empowerment, the Office of the Parliament celebrates International Women's Day 2025.